We continue now at the top of Daf Vavam and Beis and Meseches Gittin. This is Gittin Daf 6b. The Gemara continues with the Psak Halacha of Rav. Rav says that in Bavel you don't need to say B'fanei Nechtav or B'fanei Nechtam. However, V'yivad et Tahanis. But if you do say it, it will be beneficial. Ma'i Yivad et Tahanis. What does it mean that if you do say it, it's beneficial? Di Bal Ma'ara, that if the husband will come and protest, Lo Mashkechin and Bey, we will not pay attention to him because the Shliach already said B'fanei Nechtav or B'fanei Nechtam. Kedetanya, as we learned in a Braisa, and this is from the Tosefta, there was an incident where one person brought a get in front of Rabbi Yishmael. Amar lo, and he said to him, this individual said, do I need to say b'fanei nechtav, u'b'fanei nechtam, o eini tzarech, or do I not need to say it? Amar lo, he said to him, b'ni mehechanati, he said, my son, from where are you from? Amar lo, he said to Rabbi Yishmael, Rebbe mikfar sisoy ani, Rebbe, I'm from Kfar Sisoy. Amar lo, so Rabbi Yishmael said to him, tzarech ato lomer b'fanei nechtav, b'fanei nechtam, you need to say b'fanei nechtav, b'fanei nechtam, shalot hizakeg le'edim. That way the wife will not require edim if there should be some kind of protest. La'achar sheyotz, after he went out, nichnas lefon of Rabbi Eloi, he entered before him. Amar lo, he said to him, Rebbe, v'alo Kfar Sisoy muvlas b'tchum Eretz Yisrael, u'krova l'tzipure, yoser me'ako, but isn't Kfar Sisoy absorbed in the boundaries of Eretz Yisrael, and it's closer to Tzipori more than Akko is? Utnana, we learned in the Mishnah, Rabbi Meir says, Akko Eretz Yisrael Gittin, that Akko is considered like Eretz Yisrael when it comes to Gittin. V'afilu Rabbanan, and even the Rabbanan who argue on Rabbi Meir, lo pligo led Rabbi Meir, ela ba'Akko d'merachka, they only argue about Akko, which is far away, avol Kfar Sisoy d'mekarva, but Kfar Sisoy, which is a little bit closer, lo, they won't argue in that case, meaning to say that should be close enough to Eretz Yisrael that you should not require b'fanei nechtav, b'fanei nechtam. So why did you say that he has to say b'fanei nechtav, b'fanei nechtam? Amar lo, he said to him, shtok b'ni shtok, be quiet, my son, be quiet. Hoel v'yotza adavar beheter yotza, since what happened, it came out to be good, it's coming out to be mutter in the end, so therefore it went out already, there's no reason to change it. But the Gemara says, but what's even the question over here? Meaning to say, the Gemara is asking, why did Rabbi Eloi come and say to Rabbi Yishmael that what kind of psak halach is this? Isn't it true it's not required? But even Rabbi Yishmael, he didn't say it's required. He said you should say b'fanei nechtam in order that she shouldn't require witnesses later. That's exactly what Rabbi Yishmael said in the first place. And to that the Gemara says, lo saimua kamei. He didn't hear that finishing, that concluding statement from Rabbi Yishmael, and that's why he asked that question to Rabbi Yishmael. And the Gemara continues, Shalach le Rav Yosser le Rav Chisda, Rav Yosser sent to Rav Chisda, Gittin haboy misham lekan, Gittin, they come from there to here, meaning they come from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael. Ein tzarech lomer b'fanei nechtav u'b'fanei nechtam. There's no need to say b'fanei nechtav u'b'fanei nechtam. And the Gemara says, Leima kasavar, let us say that he holds, that Rav Yosser holds, Lefi she'ein bikiin l'shma, that the reason we say b'fanei nechtav u'b'fanei nechtam is because they're not experts in l'shma. V'hani gemiri, and these people of Bavel, they are learned, they are experts, and that's why there's no need. But the Gemara says, V'tizber, is that logical? Again, V'harabba islay de Rava, but Rabba holds like Rava. Everybody agrees with the reason of certification. Ella, rather, the kuli alma being on l'kaimo, really everybody agrees that we require certification, meaning b'fanei nechtam is because of certification. Mekevon di'ika ravim desolki v'nachti, but since there's a lot of people that go up and they come down, meaning there's a lot of travel between Eretz Yisrael and Bavel, mishkach shchichi, so the travel is frequent, and therefore that's not a concern, and that's why Rav Yosser said that Gittin that come from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael do not require b'fanei nechtav u'b'fanei nechtam. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rav Yosef says, Man leimal under Rav Yosser bar Samchu. Who's the one that tells us that Rav Yosser is someone we can even rely on? V'yod, and furthermore, ha'iu d'shalach leilo Rav Yehuda. It was him, it was Rav Yosser who sent a message to Rav Yehuda, and the message was as follows: Bnei Adam ha'olin misham lekan. The people who go from there to here, meaning people who abandon their families and they go to Eretz Yisrael, they leave Bavel to go to Eretz Yisrael. Hein kaimu ba'atzman, they fulfill the following pasuk: Vayitnu hayelid bezona, v'hayalda machru b'yayin. They give away their child to a zona, and their young girl they sold for wine, v'yishtu, and they drink. In other words, they're abandoning their families. It's not proper. V'chas avlei below sirtot. And the point over here is he wrote that message, and he wrote it without underlining, without etching underneath of the pasuk. V'yam Rav Yitzchak, and Rav Yitzchak says, Shtayim kosvin, shalosh ein kosvin, that if you write 2 words from a pasuk, you could write it without sirtot, but 3 words you can't do that. And b'mas nisatan, in the Brisa was taught, shalosh kosvin, so 3 words you can write, arba ein kosvin, 4 you can't write, but in any case, he didn't follow this tradition, so we see that he's not acting appropriately, at least with regards to this halacha. So Amar le Abaye, so Abaye said to him, to Rav Yosef, Atu kol lo yada had Rav Yitzchak lav gavra Rabu. Do you mean to say that anyone who doesn't know the halacha of Rav Yitzchak is not a great person? B'shalom milsa d'talya b'svar. I understand something that has to do with logic, l'chayi, then your argument would be good. But ha Gemara, but this is just a tradition, u Gemara lo shmilei, and he didn't hear this particular tradition. V'yod, and further, ha Rav Yasser hu da'askim mari al yadi. Rav Yasser is an individual that HaKadosh Baruch Hu agreed with him. T'chsev, as it's written, Vatizna Olav Pilag, show by the episode of the Pilegesh Begiva, it says that his Pilegesh Vatizna Olav, she committed some act of znus. Rav Yasser says, what did she do? Zavuv Matzala, he found that there was a fly. There was a fly in the food. Rav Yonasan says, Nima Matzala, he found a hair. V'yashkechei Rav Yasser le'Eliyahu, and Rav Yasser found Eliyahu and Navi. Amar Leini said to him, my covet HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what's HaKadosh Baruch Hu doing right now? Amar Lei said, Asik b'Pilegesh Begiva, he's dealing with the sugya of the Pilegesh Begiva. Umay Kamer, so he said to Eliyahu, so what is HaKadosh Baruch Hu saying? Amar Lei, so Eliyahu said to him, Ev Yasser b'ni kachu omer, Yonasan b'ni kachu omer. Ev Yasser, my son, says, this is what happened, and Yonasan, my son, says, this is what happened. Amar Lei, so he said to him, Chas v'shalom, u'mi'ikos v'eka kamei shemaya, God forbid, is there any kind of doubt in the heavens? How could it be that HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't know the answer to this? Amar Le, so Eliyahu said back, Elu v'elu divrei Elokim chayim hein, both are the words of the living God, they're both correct. Zvuv matzav v'lo hikbet, he found a fly, but he wasn't makbet about it. Name a matzav v'hikbet, but he found a hair, and he was makbet about it. Amar Rav Yehuda says they're both correct. Zvuv b'ka'ara, there was a fly that was found in the plate, in the food. V'nima ba'oso makam, and there was a hair found in the private area. Zvuv mi'isusa, the fly, that's something that's just disgusting. However, v'nima sakanta, the hair, that already poses a danger during the act of relations. Ika diamri, there are those that say idi v'idi b'ka'ara, they were both found in the plate of food. However, zvuv onsa, zvuv was something that was beyond her control. V'nema p'shiyusa, but when it came to the hair, that was negligence. And Rashi explains, Rav Yasser referred to the individuals who went to Eretz Yisrael and abandoned their families with the pasuk of Vayitnu Hayeled, that they gave their child to the Zona. Shayu Mishtoin Beretz Yisrael, because they stayed in Eretz Yisrael, Umanichin the Shosein Agunos, they left their wives as Agunos, Uvetelemi Peri Veribya, and they didn't participate in the mitzvah of Peru Revu. Shanakal Beineim Yuladim V'Yulados, because they took lightly their responsibility with regards to their children, their boys and their girls. Shtayim, 2 words, Shteitevos Kosvin Mina Mikra, below Sirta, 2 words you can write from a pasuk, and you don't have to underline, you don't have to etch it. So Bishlama Milsa D'Talia Besvara. So then the Gemara said, we understand something that's logical. Ilo have a savar lamidaito, if he didn't think of it himself, so that's already something against him. L'chayai kolamer shaper matzis lamemer delav gavra rabahu, meaning you can say that if it was something with svara that he didn't realize, so he's not a great person. But if it's just a tradition, or Gemara lo shmilei ha Gemara de Rabbi Yitzchak, he didn't know this tradition of Rabbi Yitzchak. But then the Gemara says, the asking Mari al Yadi, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu agreed with him. Lagalos lo sod, revealed him a secret, l'chavin devarim hastum alamitasam, to say the truth about what happened again by the Pilegesh Begiva. Vatizna olam pilag sho Pilegesh Begiva ksiv, this is a pasuk by the Pilegesh Begiva. Vatizna here doesn't mean zenus, but it means sarchalav, it means she did something that angered her husband. Zavuv matzala bekari, he found a fly in her plate. Nima matzala lekami mafarsh, the hair is going to be explained again, we saw various explanations. V'yashche garsina nima matzav v'hikbid kidim mafarsh time of Yazid, the Gemara will explain why the hair in particular, that's what he was makbid about. Nima ba'oso makam v'darkan hayil hasher sasar, it was the way of the women, they would remove the hair at the private area. V'lo liskin bo'ala leosas krus shifcha, that's that way it avoids danger for the husband. Umisham de sakantu hikbid olah, because that can be a danger, that's why he was angry at her. Ubarcha mipnei maso, and she ran away because she was afraid of him. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rav Chisda says, Liolam aliyat elodem emi yisera b'soch beisu, a person should not place a great amount of fear within his household. Sharei Pilegesh Begiva, because of the episode of the Pilegesh Begiva, hitel aleh bala emi yisera, her husband caused there to be great fear within the household, v'hipila kama rivos misrael, and that caused great multitudes to die in Israel. Amar Rav Yehuda, Rav Yehuda says, the Rav says, Kol hamatel emi yisera b'soch beisu, anybody who places great fear within their household, sofu ba lidei shalosh averos, in the end he's going to come to 3 great sins: Giloy Arayas, Ushvichas Damim, V'chil Shabbos, the sin of Giloy Arayas, meaning to say the sin of illicit relationships, and the sin of Shvichas Damim, spilling blood, murder, and the sin of the desecration of Shabbos. Amar Rava Bar Bar Chana says, Hada Ami Rabbanan, that which the Rabbanan say, Shalosha Devarim Tzarech Adam Lomar B'soch Beisar of Shabbos, that a person needs to say 3 things in his house on Erev Shabbos, Im Chasheich, as it's getting dark. Isartem, did you take off Meiser? Eravtem, did you make an Erev? Hidliku Es Haner, did you light the candles? Tzarech, so it's required to say it in a soft way. And Rashi says, Giloy Arayos Kishemagias Man Tvila. So why Giloy Arayos? Because when the time comes for her to immerse in the mikveh, Be'es Tzina, let's say it's a cold time, now she's afraid to say that I didn't immerse, and instead she'll have relations with him as a nida, and that also can be considered like Giloy Arayos. Shvichas damim, spilling blood, kihacha, like in the episode of Pilegesh Begiva, or maybe she'll run away and then she'll end up falling, she'll hurt herself, she'll fall off a bridge. Chilul Shabbos, sometimes she'll light the candle, or she'll cook after it's dark, because she's afraid of her husband, and he doesn't know. So then we say that a person should say before Shabbos, did you take off meiser properly on the fruits we're going to eat tomorrow? Did you make the eruve chatzeros? And we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Zayin Amud Aleph.